I was raised by the Williams family to be their future daughter-in-law from a very young age. At 20, I married Everett Williams. At 24, I gave birth to Andrew Williams. Andrew takes after Everett, a quiet child, not very close to me. Every night before bed, I'd bring both father and son a warm glass of milk. But that night, Everett accidentally knocked over his glass, and Andrew secretly poured his out. Something in me just gave out. When I handed the divorce papers to Everett, he frowned and asked unhappily, "Just because of this?" "Yes. Just because of this." 01. "And what about our son? What are you planning to do with Andrew?" Everett went back to his usual cold, businesslike tone. It felt like I was sitting across a negotiation table, not from my husband, but from a stranger. I spoke calmly. "I'm giving up custody. The house in the eastern suburbs will be transferred to Andrew's name. Consider it compensation for child support. After all, the child bears the Williams name. Compared to living with me, he fits better in that family." Everett looked down at me, his expression unreadable, as if he couldn't understand what I was making a fuss about. "Lily Linden," he softened his tone, "if it's about the milk, I'm sorry. You know, I was drunk last night. I didn't mean to treat you like that." He explained patiently, convinced that the issue was just about the spilled milk. "Last night, Everett came home late from a business dinner. I had waited half the night for him and was woken up by the cold air that rushed in when he opened the door. I got up from the couch and saw him taking off his coat, pressing his fingers to his temple like he had a headache. I immediately went to the kitchen and brought him the milk I had kept warm for hours. Our relationship had never been passionate, but on the surface, it functioned well enough. But that night, I asked one extra question. Did you meet someone? The perfume on you smells familiar. Everett suddenly let go of the glass. I didn't react fast enough. It slipped from our fingers and shattered on the floor, breaking the silence in the warmly lit room. His eyes turned cold, his entire demeanor tense and irritable. He looked at me and said, Lily Linden, you've crossed a line. Don't wait for me at night anymore. And stop preparing milk for me. And Andrew, after seeing his father's reaction, also poured out his milk. When I caught him doing it, he stood at the door and said in a flat tone, Sorry, Mom. If Dad doesn't want to drink it, I don't want to either. To them, maybe it really was such a small thing. Not worth all this drama. 02. I didn't argue further. I signed the papers and entrusted everything to the lawyer. I chose to end my marriage with Everett Williams. He talked about how to divide the assets, but I didn't really listen. I didn't care. Back in the bedroom, I began packing. He looked down at me and said, Lily Linden, the legal process will take time. There's no need to rush out. You can keep this house. I glanced at this calm, emotionless man. Then replied with the very words he had once said to me. It's better to make a clean break. Avoid complications. He said nothing after that. I never thought packing could be so hard. The whole place was filled with little things, every item I had carefully arranged over the years. I looked around, then decided to keep it simple. I dragged my suitcase toward the door. Everett stepped in front of me. Where are you going? Back to your parents' place. I'll have the driver take you. No need, I refused. Just make sure the housekeeper clears out my stuff tomorrow. I won't be handling it. It's not like they're short one pair of hands. Just before I stepped out, I hesitated. I turned around and spoke to Andrew, who was standing behind Everett, still with that blank expression. I won't be picking you up from preschool anymore. But remember, don't go with strangers. That was my final goodbye. Then I turned and left. Without even glancing at the boy I had once cradled through countless sleepless nights when he cried after weaning. 03. I bought a one-way ticket out of North City. Chose a random city down south. Ever since I was 14 and told I'd marry into the Williams family. My life had been all planned out. My freedom and choices were taken from me. Even after marrying Everett, aside from the occasional event, he never offered to take me anywhere. My daily life mostly consisted of waiting for them to come home and offering them a glass of warm milk before bed. People in our social circle would often say Everett's mother raised me well. That I was the perfect wife, tailor-made for Everett Williams. I matched his status and took care of his life. My only flaw? I was too perfect. So perfect, it was dull. Robotic. I once overheard his friends teasing him. "Williams, what's it like to live like an old married couple at such a young age? Your wife's boring as hell. Her smile's like a mannequin's. Want us to introduce you to someone more fun?" Marshall met this hilarious girl the other day, just like Jasmine back in the day. You interested? Jasmine. Everett's first love. His mother never approved of them. Everett fought hard back then. But in the end, they broke up. Jasmine moved to the US. Then, when I turned 20, Everett suddenly agreed to the family's arrangement and proposed to me. 4 years later, Andrew was born. Oh, right, I remember now. That perfume I smelled on him that night. It was Jasmine's favorite. A custom-blended gardenia scent. 04. After settling into my new place in the southern city, I wandered through many parts of town. The misty rain of Jiangnan, the narrow alleys cloaked in haze, every bit of it fascinated me. I didn't expect that on the third morning, I would suddenly receive a call from Everett Williams. He sounded like he had just woken up, his voice low and hoarse. "Lily Linden, where did you put the ruby cufflinks you bought me at last year's auction?" I paused. "In the second drawer of the second cabinet in the walk-in closet." Then I asked, "What's the occasion?" Everett replied, "A ribbon-cutting ceremony at a mall." I told him, "The matching suit is on the second rack, fourth from the left." He still sounded groggy. I could hear him rummaging in the background, and faintly, some murmuring complaints. I listened for a moment and asked, "Did you find them?" There was a brief silence on the other end, as if he finally came to his senses. "Yeah. I found them. Sorry, I didn't mean to bother you." I gave a soft and said, "I know." Then added, "Have the housekeeper reorganize the place for you. If you can't find something again, just ask them. And from now on, please don't call me anymore." Everett was silent for a few seconds before answering, "Okay." After hanging up, I blocked his number and went back to sleep. But this time, no matter how I turned, I couldn't sleep soundly. I dreamed a string of strange, vivid dreams. 14 years old, laughing and fooling around with classmates on campus. 15, the first time I met Everett Williams under a sunny sky. 16, sneaking out to race and coming home to my dad breaking my leg in rage. And then, a sharp ring jolted me awake. I groggily reached for my phone on the nightstand. It was an unfamiliar number. I picked up. A polite voice came from the other end. "Hello, is this Andrew Williams's mother? I'm his kindergarten teacher. Today we're having a robot project showcase, and Andrew Williams is participating. But he didn't bring anything. He said his mom prepared it for him. Would you be able to bring it over?" The teacher sounded very friendly. I gripped my phone tighter and closed my eyes, an overwhelming fatigue washing over me. Not long ago, I'd been sitting in the living room, studying a video tutorial frame by frame, trying to help Andrew make his project. But I'd left in such a rush that day, the robot was still half finished. Looking out the window at the already blazing sun, I replied softly. "I'm sorry, teacher, but I'm no longer Andrew Williams's legal guardian. I won't be responsible for him anymore. Also, is he with you right now?" "Ah, yes, he's right next to me," the teacher said, a little awkwardly. I let out a sigh. "Could I trouble you to turn on the speakerphone?" "Sure, of course. Thank you." There was some shuffling noise as the phone moved, then silence. I figured Andrew could hear me. I spoke gently. "Andrew Williams, the robot is in your toy box. You can ask your dad to bring it to you. Or anyone else." But from now on, I don't want you to call me anymore. I won't come pick you up, and I won't help you with your homework. You know that, I'm not your mom anymore." After saying that, I apologized to the teacher once more and hung up. 05. Saying those words to the child I nearly gave my life to bring into the world. It hurt more than I could admit. I don't even remember when it started, when Andrew Williams began acting more and more like Everett. My marriage with Everett Williams had been arranged early on. When I was just 14, my grandfather and father walked out of the study smiling alongside the Williams family elders. And from that moment, I was raised as their future daughter-in-law. Back then, my classmates all envied how well off my family was. I never corrected them, just smiled bitterly. Sure, my life was comfortable, but it came without freedom. During middle school entrance exams, I didn't do well. That night, my mother was so angry and ashamed she stormed into my room and slapped me across the face. In high school, I rebelled and started dating early. My father finished the set with another slap, telling me if I didn't want to marry into the Williams family, I'd have to marry some other rich man nearly twice my age. I first met Everett Williams when I was 15. It was a meeting arranged by our families. Back then, Everett wasn't like he is now. He smiled easily and wore his emotions on his sleeve. I don't remember much from that day. Only that he wore a white shirt under a bright blue sky. And his eyes were full of unfiltered emotion. Later, I heard he went to war with his family over his first love. I admired that, envied it even. At least he had the courage to fight back. He had a choice. But not long after, Everett's mother came to visit my home. She wore the perfect smile of courtesy and apology as she held my mom's hand and said, "Don't worry, we've already dealt with that little issue with Everett." I was hiding behind the door, listening, feeling that sinking disappointment in my chest. Of course. Just as expected. After that, our families started arranging more meetings between me and Everett. At first, he resisted, always cold and indifferent toward me. But gradually, he came around. He'd speak a little more, sometimes. I watched him change from a sharp, emotional teen to a quiet, withdrawn adult. Even the signature scent of gardenia he used to wear slowly faded into the air over time. 06. Then, when I turned 20 and Everett was 24. On the way to a gala in City C, we were caught in a sudden landslide. Our car was buried under the rubble. Everett and I were trapped together for a whole day and night. The last thing I remember before we were rescued was his arm shielding me from the collapsing frame of the car, pierced and covered in blood. When I woke up, he proposed. Right there, in front of both our families. He looked me in the eye and asked, "Lily Linden, will you be my wife?" I saw his arm, wrapped in layers of white gauze. And remembered how, in the dark wreckage, he'd kept calling my name, panicked. "Lily Linden, don't fall asleep. If you fall asleep now, you'll never be free again." Almost unconsciously, I placed my hand in his. And I ignored the look in his eyes, calm and blank, like someone simply completing a duty. So, we got married. And 4 years later, as everyone hoped, we had a child. Andrew Williams was doted on from birth by both families. Everett's mother believed he needed the same elite upbringing as his father. So when he poured out that cup of milk, he looked at me with the same innocent face as his father. Apologized the same way. Yet did exactly what he believed was right. 07. I had no idea what those two, father and son, were thinking. Barely a week had passed when I got another call from Everett Williams. This time, it was from a different number. Because I had blocked his original one. Dragging things out like this wasn't like Everett at all. When the call connected, there was silence on the other end for several seconds. Just as I was about to hang up in confusion, his voice came through. "Lily Linden," he said, calling my name. "Your parents said you didn't go home. Where did you go? Did you go to the Southern District?" He was checking up on me. And I knew he had the means to do so. But even so, I couldn't stop the anger from rising in my chest. In our 9-year-long marriage, Everett had always been cold and distant. We lived under the same roof like strangers. Yet now, in less than half a month, he had called me more times than he had in an entire year before. Back then, I would text him things like, "Will you be home for dinner tonight? Are you still in a meeting? Does your stomach still hurt? Want me to make you some porridge?" His longest reply would be, Most of the time, it was just me talking to myself. And now he was calling me like nothing ever happened. With a hoarse voice, he asked, "Lily, I drank a bit during a work dinner today, and my stomach's acting up. Where do you keep the medicine at home? Oh, and Andrew caught a cold at kindergarten, he's got a fever of 38 degrees and keeps complaining. You used to know what to do to help. What should I give him?" I was livid. I forced myself to stay calm, to not sound like some hysterical ex-wife. I told him, word by word. "Everett Williams, we are divorced. I am no longer your wife, nor your housekeeper. Whether your stomach hurts or not, or whether you can find the medicine, is none of my concern. And let's be honest, you have people who'd gladly get medicine for you if you just say the word. As for Andrew being sick, telling me won't help. I'm not a doctor. And I've never seen a father ask his ex-wife how to take care of his own child. I don't know what you want. Maybe you're just not used to life without me. Maybe it's your pride. Maybe it's habit. But Everett, I don't want to make this ugly. We're done. Don't contact me again. Do you understand?" I hung up. Then I flipped my phone over, pulled out the SIM card, and tossed it in the trash. 08. These days, everything's linked to your phone number, accounts, IDs, you name it. So no, I didn't expect Everett or Andrew to keep calling me again and again. And no, I didn't believe Everett still had feelings for me. It was just that I had taken care of them for too long. They weren't used to me being gone. I got a new number and withdrew some cash. Then I signed up for a research group heading to the Northwest. It was a field survey program I'd once seen online. Back then, when I brought it up, Everett said he didn't have time. His so-called friends laughed. That's too cheap. Lily Linden, with the Williams family name, joining such a low-budget tour is an embarrassment. I had just smiled without saying a word. Because deep down, I knew it was impossible for the Williams family to ever let me go on my own like that. Funny how easily it happened now. The truth is, to break a shackle, the one being bound must first want to break free. 09. The day we left with the expedition team, the sky was clear. We traveled by train. The long journey rocked me in and out of restless dreams. Each time I drifted into sleep, I'd wake up gently with the rhythm of the train. Our route took us along the Qinghai-Gansu Ring Road. Starting from Xining to Shaka in Qinghai, through the Salt Lake at Karhan, stopping at Dizhayden, Xiazhayden, and the Erie Ghost City. We passed the Mogeo Caves, rising out of the desert, and stood in silence at Crescent Lake under the moonlight. Then we reached Dunhuang, walked across Jiaguan, and saw the rainbow-colored Zhangye Danxia Mountains. Most of the people in the group were geologists. They didn't seem talkative at first, but could go on for hours about a pile of soil, a blade of grass, or a nameless wildflower. Sometimes serious, sometimes humorous. Their passion made the vast, barren Northwest seem bursting with life. I'll admit it, growing up in a privileged family, and being groomed by the Williams family, had given me access to things most people never got to see. Before, I used to think traveling only made sense when done with family. But now, trekking through the Yaden landforms and camping in the desert. Eating overcooked lamb skewers and being covered in dust. Somehow, I saw stars that were brighter than ever before. I knew Everett could still trace my movements. But it didn't matter anymore. After the Northwest trip, I exchanged contact info with the team. Then, after resting a few days back in the city, we hit the road again, this time, to the Tibetan Plateau. At the summit of Mount Everest, I was hit hard by altitude sickness. My breathing became labored, my head throbbed like it would split open. For a moment, I thought that was it for me. But then the golden sunlight bathed the mountaintop. Everyone around me was cheering. And in that overwhelming, chaotic energy, I suddenly broke into tears. The team rushed to give me oxygen and sugary drinks, thinking I was in pain. "Hey, don't cry, miss. You're okay, your oxygen's coming back up, don't be scared, we're here, you won't die. Yeah, little sis. You're young, you've got a long way to go. This is just the beginning." Their words made me laugh through tears. With their help, I got up from the snow and walked toward the golden light on the peak. Toward my new life. No matter how many chains. No matter how steep the climb. I could still reach the top on my own. Couldn't I? 10. After I came back, I picked up some old hobbies again. Extreme sports. Racing. And getting a dog. Before my arranged engagement to Everett, I had been a free spirit, lively, curious, full of passion for life. But when you're denied even basic freedom, how can you talk about passion? I adopted a mixed-breed Maltese and named her Anne. She had soft caramel-colored fur and big innocent eyes. When she ran, her floppy ears flapped like a little gas tank. Dogs are easier than people. They understand your needs better. They don't give you the cold shoulder. When you love them, they love you back. The next time I saw Everett Williams was at the door of my new home. I was about to take him for a walk. Opened the door. And there he was, standing by the elevator. Beside him was Andrew Williams, staring nervously at the little dog in my arms. 11. What are you doing here? I sat across from Everett Williams, my tone cold. Andrew Williams lay at the end of the couch, frowning as he watched Anne devour her food. Everett studied me in silence for a moment. "Lily, you've lost weight." I lifted my eyelids lazily. "Don't change the subject. It was our son who wanted to see you." I couldn't stop him. "Everett Williams," I asked him, "do you remember what I said last time? We're divorced. Please stop interfering with my life. Don't you understand that?" His lips pressed into a thin line. "Lily, Andrew's still young. He needs his mother." I laughed. Then I called the building security and had them escorted out. Andrew didn't want to leave. He stood at my doorway, staring at me, lips parted like he wanted to say something. I held Anne in my arms, not sparing him a glance, and firmly closed the door. I knew if I looked at him even once more, I might soften. He was the child I gave birth to on an operating table, through excruciating pain. I had held him, loved him, soothed him, cherished him. The first word he ever said was, "Mama." When he was little, he cried with everyone else, but only calmed down in my arms. But later, Everett's mother claimed I wasn't raising him properly and imposed her version of elite parenting. A child's upbringing reflects what they're taught. What people tell him, he remembers. That becomes who he is. As Andrew grew older, he began to drift from me too. Just like Everett, polite but distant. He'd still call me Mom, but always spoke formally. "Mom, can Dad teach me instead? Grandma says his education is better than yours. Mom, why do you always stay at home? Don't you have any hobbies? My classmates' moms all do. Mom, you're too serious. You're not like Aunt Vivi, she always has fun and exciting ideas." 12. After I told security not to let them in again, Everett Williams changed tactics. Sometimes, he'd be waiting at the entrance of the neighborhood early in the morning, sitting in the back of his Maybach, looking like he hadn't slept all night. When he saw me, he'd quickly get out and hand me a steaming hot breakfast. "You don't eat in the morning. That's bad for your stomach. Try to eat a little." Other times, he'd bring Andrew and follow behind me while I walked the dog. I'd walk right past them without sparing a glance. Some neighbors I met while walking in and would curiously ask about the striking father and son always following me. I told them plainly, my ex-husband who's in love with someone else, and their child who prefers that woman. They'd look awkward at first, but quickly turned supportive. Every time they saw the pair, they'd warn me ahead of time, telling me not to go out yet. Out of sight, out of mind. I'd just smile and say it's fine. It really didn't matter to me anymore. 13. Everett Williams had always been busy. His company needed him. He couldn't possibly keep pestering me forever. Many times, I saw him sitting in his car, exhausted, answering phone call after phone call. Maybe they were from the company, maybe from the Williams family. After all, he'd been away from Andrew for quite a while. Sometimes Andrew would sneak away without his dad, asking the driver to bring him to me. Then he'd quietly follow behind me with tiny steps, not saying a word. I'd focus on walking in, giving her water, coaxing her to eat treats. She'd wag her little tail happily and bark softly at me. Andrew would just stare silently, his eyes filled with frustration. Kids can't hide their feelings as well as adults. One time, Annan ran too fast and Andrew couldn't keep up. In his panic, he tripped and fell hard on the stone pavement. He finally burst into tears, red-eyed and sobbing, "Mom, it hurts." Since he was little, Andrew rarely cried. He must have been overwhelmed with frustration and pain. He lay on the ground crying uncontrollably. I stood there, watching him quietly, without moving. Until the bodyguards rushed over to lift him off the ground. Andrew used to get sick a lot. Every time he did, I'd worry and fuss over him endlessly. But now, my heart was like still water. Not a ripple left. 14. My life now wouldn't be disrupted by the Williams father and son. After returning from my trip, I joined a racing club. Just wanted to revisit some old hobbies. Unexpectedly, I got selected for a race. Even though I'd probably get eliminated early, I still trained seriously. The race was scheduled for a week later. On the day I left, I booked a red-eye flight. Pre-race jitters mixed with a quiet excitement. On the track, the wind cut through the blazing sun, time suspended between tire and tarmac. Sweat beneath the racing suit, the intense push and pull of the chase. When I took off my helmet, drenched in sweat, and stood on the podium, the cheers from the stands came in waves. Second place. A result I never expected. As I left with the crowd after the event, I saw Everett Williams standing among them, holding Andrew's hand. Andrew clutched a bouquet of flowers, carefully avoiding everyone around him so it wouldn't get damaged. When Everett saw me, he nodded with a faint smile, mouthing two words. Looked like, "Congratulations." Andrew, his face red with excitement, waved enthusiastically. "Mom! You were amazing." The people around us smiled warmly. But all I felt was annoyance. I walked past them with my things. Everett and Andrew moved to greet me. "Lily," Everett said, "I didn't know you could do this. Why didn't you ever mention it before?" "Mom! That was so cool. You don't know how nervous I was when you passed that car." I didn't respond. Just kept walking. Everett grabbed my hand gently, lowering his voice. "Lily, let's have dinner together tonight, to celebrate. Andrew really misses you." Andrew looked up at me, eyes full of hope, trying to push the flowers into my hand. I pulled my hand back, avoiding them both. "I'm busy. I don't have time. You two enjoy dinner on your own." 15. Everett Williams was buried in work. Andrew Williams hadn't been home in a long time. Inevitably, Everett's mother came to see me. Looking at the woman who once approved of me, yet always kept her distance, I felt a kind of sorrow I couldn't put into words. Maybe it was because we were both mothers. Maybe just because we were both women. "Lily, the reason I chose you back then was because you were quiet and reserved, the kind of woman suitable to marry into the Williams family. But now, Everett and Andrew both refuse to come home because of you. How is that any different from what happened with Jasmine? Lily, please come back. Do it for me, and give Everett another chance." Everett's mother was never the overbearing type. On the contrary, she always spoke with warmth and courtesy. Just like how Everett and Andrew treated me. I imagine that if it weren't for her son and grandson, she would never have lowered herself to sit in my small 2-bedroom apartment and ask me to give Everett another chance. But Auntie, I said, Everett doesn't love me. Our marriage already stole 9 years of my life. You chose me back then for my family background, not for who I was. Now that our families are closely tied, our cooperation secured, and I've given birth to the child you wanted, Andrew's grown up now. Without me, the Williams family can still raise him well. Isn't it time to let me go? My father once broke my leg and killed my pet dog. Back then, I was timid and afraid to resist. Later, I married Everett, served my purpose, and gave birth to Andrew, our unbreakable blood tie. After that, I had no more value to them. Most importantly, Auntie, I don't love Everett anymore. When I was young, my heart fluttered at his words. Lily Linden, if you fall asleep, you'll never be free again. Will you marry me? Maybe I can give you freedom. But in the end, even the boy who swore to slay the dragon became one. He forgot the promise he casually made. Sigh, Everett's mother let out a long sigh and said aloud to the air, "Did you hear that, Everett?" Mom tried her best. Next to her handbag, her phone screen lit up. It showed an ongoing call with Everett Williams. 16. That night, Everett showed up at my door. Lily, I still want to try. I know I didn't treat you right before, I neglected you. Can you give me a chance to make it up to you? To start over? I looked at him calmly. I think I've made myself clear. He ran a hand through his messy hair in frustration. Everett had always cared about his appearance. It was rare to see him looking this disheveled. He was wearing a charcoal suit with a pair of bright blue cufflinks. The colors clashed too much, a rookie mistake. In the past, I used to choose every outfit for him. Now, all I wanted was for him to leave. He looked at me helplessly. I love you, Lily. I just didn't know how to cherish you. I've never loved anyone before, I didn't know how. That's why I hurt you. I didn't realize how much you meant to me until after you left. It was all my fault. Lily, can't you give me one more chance? Andrew needs you too. He cries every day asking for his mom. No one else can comfort him. For the sake of the child, can't you reconsider? So now he says he loves me. He claims he's never loved anyone before and didn't know how. But back when our families arranged for us to meet, he said, Lily Linden, I already have someone in my heart. You know that, right? At the time, he was still tangled up with Jasmine and in conflict with the Williams family. After we got married, when he heard Jasmine had a new boyfriend in the US, he got drunk and came home late for the first time. The next day, his mother pushed us about having a child. He laughed coldly and said he'd agree, if I changed my perfume to his custom gardenia blend. Every step of the way, someone else's shadow lingered. And now he says he never loved anyone. I looked at him coldly. What about Jasmine? Everett froze. As if a lie had finally reached its breaking point, he lowered his gaze and said seriously, there was never a Jasmine, Lily. Never. I didn't want to follow the family's arrangement, so I made it up. You're the only one I've ever loved. From beginning to end, it's always been you. What a joke. 17. I used to wonder. Did Everett ignore me, treat me with silent cruelty, because he resented me for Jasmine? I knew what it felt like to be powerless. But I didn't pity him. After Andrew was born, my feelings for Everett began to fade. I became numb, just going through the motions of what a Williams daughter-in-law should do. I pinned all my hopes on Andrew. He was my only blood tie in that household. In the early days, he was my only comfort. But it only took 2 years for that hope to turn into a thorn lodged deep in my flesh. Maybe Everett did love me. But not more than his pride, his dignity, or everything else. He was simply used to my care and devotion. In our marriage, for whatever reason, he neglected me. He emotionally abandoned me. And he truly believed women were meant to sacrifice for the family. None of that can be erased. No one is born unable to love. No one doesn't understand how to love. Realizing what you've lost afterward is just regret and pride mixed with the fear of never finding better. When we're young, falling in love with the wrong person is forgivable. When we're grown, walking away from the wrong person is necessary. Everett Williams, I said flatly. Have some dignity and walk away. 18. Everett Williams had always been a proud man. He understood what I was saying. So the last time I saw him was still at my home. Not long ago, I went on a group trip to Xinjiang. It rained a lot in the summer, and I got caught in several showers. With everything happening recently, I inevitably fell ill after returning. When I woke up from the darkness, feeling terrible all over, it was Everett Williams who helped me sit up. Andrew Williams was lying by the bedside, whispering with concern. "Mom, how are you feeling? Is there anywhere hurting? Dad and I will take you to the hospital, okay?" Everett Williams placed a pillow behind me and said, "When I saw you staggering at the gate tonight, I knew something was wrong. I followed you upstairs and found you had already passed out from fever. I had someone give you a fever-reducing injection. How do you feel now? Still uncomfortable?" He spoke softly, carefully handing me a glass. It was a glass of warm milk, milky white. "You didn't eat much tonight. Drink some milk to warm your stomach." "Lily," he called my name quietly, his tone familiar as he began to scold me. "You can't take care of yourself alone. If it weren't for me and Andrew today, no one would have known you were sick. Lily, please come home with us, okay? Let Andrew and me take care of you." I watched him say this awkwardly, with Andrew nodding in agreement beside the bed. I smiled faintly, reached out to take the milk, and in the next moment, I let go. The glass slipped from my fingers. Crash! It shattered into pieces on the floor. White milk spilled and flowed across the floor. I pointed to the scattered fragments and said slowly, "Everett Williams, look, a broken glass can't be fixed. Spilled milk is the same, it can't be taken back." And then, just minutes later, someone suddenly knocked on my door, and many voices came in. Andrew went to open it. A noisy crowd burst inside. Everyone was carrying all sorts of bags and packages and gathered completely around my bed. "Oh, little sister, why are you sick? I told you not to get caught in the rain that day, but this crowd just dragged you into a rainforest. Sis, still feeling bad? I brought you the soft candies you liked last time. If the medicine tastes bitter, eat one and you'll feel better." Voices chattered all around. Then they noticed the big and small figures in the room, hesitatingly asking, "Who are these two?" I saw Everett and Andrew both tense up instinctively. So, surrounded like celebrities, I smiled and introduced them through the crowd. "They're not important, just a friend and his son. You won't see them again, they're leaving soon." Because he was still a child. Andrew suddenly broke down, standing at the door crying loudly, shouting, "I don't want to leave. I want my mom." The dog barked a few times at him. The Williams family members immediately emerged from hiding, took the child away, and helped the staggering man leave. I had once been in the same boat. But spilled water cannot be retrieved, and rivers and seas cannot be stopped. 19 Andrew Williams Special. When Andrew Williams was 12, he finally gathered the courage to break ties with Everett Williams, his father. He said he wanted to find Lily Linden. He didn't understand why something so simple and easy was met with so much resistance from Everett Williams. Andrew didn't know that over the past years, Everett Williams had visited Lily Linden. The reason he kept Andrew away was because Lily Linden had remarried and had a very lovely little girl. Everett thought his marriage to Lily Linden had been a complete failure. Lily Linden was sensitive and sentimental, needing a lot of time to fully move on. But Everett never expected that Lily Linden wasn't nostalgic at all. She had changed so much she felt like a stranger to him. Laughing freely. Living wildly. Like that was her true self all along. Everett suddenly recalled the first time he met Lily Linden. She was quiet and gentle, sitting opposite him, held by her mother's hand. Back then, Everett was strictly controlled by his mother and was furious when he heard about the arranged marriage. He naturally disliked this little girl, 4 years younger, seeming awkward and clumsy. For years, he rebelled wildly at home, causing endless arguments. Even his grandfather got involved. Eventually, Everett reluctantly agreed to break up with Jasmine. Jasmine was his college classmate, straightforward and without complaint. She helped him out. Everett didn't realize Jasmine liked him then, but later felt guilty and had several dinners with her, discussing some projects. Everett thought this practical approach would make Lily Linden forgive him. At least, he hadn't truly betrayed her. He always believed his mistake was blaming Lily Linden for the Williams family's control and resentment towards him. That's why he treated her coldly and indifferently. It broke her heart and pushed her to leave him. But after seeing Lily Linden's life after marriage, he finally understood what he had missed. Lily Linden had married a police officer she met during a random roadside rescue. The police officer was busy but always found time to take her out. They went to mountains, to the sea, searching for the source of all life. He would inform Lily Linden immediately of any work or important matters. He would bring or photograph interesting things he saw on the way home to share with her. They shared their lives. They loved each other. Soon, Lily Linden had a daughter. From toddlerhood, the girl loved holding her Maltese dog and running around outside. As she grew, in kindergarten, she bragged to other kids every day. "My mom is amazing. She can do crafts. She can even drive race cars. Do you want to come to my house? I'll introduce my mom to you." Everett Williams was like a dark mouse, spying on someone else's life. Sometimes, he wanted to step forward and greet Lily Linden. Ask if she was well, if she was eating properly. In the end, he always quietly withdrew. After that, he never asked about Lily Linden again. One Lunar New Year. After entertaining guests, Everett returned alone to his empty home. He tugged his tie, feeling uncomfortable, and called out, "Lily, I'm thirsty." He thought he would be met with a warm light. A cup of warm milk. But all that greeted him was endless darkness and silence. At that moment, overwhelming regret pressed down on him, choking him. His tall figure slowly slid down at the doorway. From the darkness came his agonized wails.